Okay, welcome everybody to our Wednesday morning masterclass with the awesome Kayleigh Kennedy today. So excited for this amazing woman. She is all about mindset. Today we're going to talk about focus and how to manifest with more focus, with more order. Probably she's going to share some stuff on that. And so very, very excited for this session. Yeah, and Kayleigh, I'm just going to let you take it away. And if you want to start by just sharing a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm going to share my screen too.
Yeah.
So I go into talking about myself in my presentation.
Perfect.
There we go. Can everyone see my screen? We're good? Perfect. All right. So as Natalie mentioned, today I want to talk about developing unstoppable focus so you can achieve your goals. Who here would say that if you had a little bit more focus, you think you might be able to achieve your goals a little bit faster? Yeah, I've heard that one before for sure. Squirrel. I used to be someone with very shiny object syndrome, and I've spent actually quite a few years developing my focus and developing my will, which I'm going to get into today. And the more that I learn about the will and learn about focus and learn about myself, the easier it is to continue to develop that faculty and to focus down on it. And when I'm laser focused on something, I can manifest things quite quickly. But life does happen and life's happening around us. So I want to kind of talk today about how to set that unstoppable focus, even when life is coming in, and just educate you a little bit more on our higher faculties, which is some of the tools that we can use to help develop our focus. So we'll get started. So my name is Kayleigh Kennedy. I'm a mindset coach. I coach through a company called Conway Consulting. So there's actually lots of members, trailblazers in this community, and members in this community who are clients of ours at Conway Consulting. So I have been a coach with Conway for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years, October 1st. And what we do is we help people with mindset, but we also help people with skill set. So I'm very, very passionate about mindset. As you'll know, if you see me showing up in Happy Healthy Women, I'm always talking about mindset, but I'm also very passionate about skill set, because that was one thing that was really missing for me for a really long time. And when I started to learn how to sell, and I say that like from a service place, I started impacting a lot more people. My life started changing, my income went up, and all of those good stuff, which I know a lot of other people would like to experience those things too. So personally, I'm also a mom of 2 humans and 2 Frenchie bulldogs. French bulldogs, little typo there, but they're Frenchies, so that works. And I'm a wife and I'm a woman. So I like to put that part into, because I am an individual beyond my family, but my family are my everything. They are my driving force, my inspiration, my passion, my purpose is all, a lot of it is tied to especially my children. So any of you who have been following my story in Happy Healthy Women for a while, my son, who's going to be 4 on Halloween, was diagnosed with leukemia last August. He's doing fantastic. Actually, today he is back at Montessori for his day 2. He was able to start yesterday. His levels and counts were up. So that's something that I've been visualizing and manifesting, and he's just thriving to be with other kiddos. And it's interesting, throughout the past year and everything that my family has gone through, my passion for personal development, my passion for mindset has just grown more and more and more. And my focus of what I'm doing has grown even more and more, even with all of those distractions, because what I'm doing is so tapped into my purpose. And actually, through this whole experience, my purpose is actually expanded. I see myself, and I've started to manifest these things as making a really big difference in the children's cancer community. And I've been manifesting those opportunities. So it's very, very cool. So it goes beyond just the work that I do with my clients. It's the work that I get to do for my family and for my community. So those are my two little ones. My daughter is just over a year and a half now. So to say I'm busy is an understatement. And that is one of the reasons why focus is so important. And it's why I have continued to thrive throughout the past year and really grow throughout the past year with all of those experiences. So I want to ask you a question. What is focus? Have you ever sat down and actually asked, what is focus? You can unmute.
You're waiting for a response, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just like, you can unmute and just share. Which is small.
I was like, I don't know if it's a rhetorical question, but the pause tells me. So yeah, I mean, I think focus is the ability to hone in, zone in, and really, take on a task and take that task to completion.
Mhm.
That's what I think.
Brenda, what do you think?
I think working with intention, right? Having that clear intent of what's your goal, what's the whole big picture, and how can you see it through to fruition.
Yeah.
Which I have, I'll get started on something and have this big plan and then get distracted and it's like, shit, I didn't finish that,
Yeah.
So that to me, that's trying to stay focused without being a squirrel, like a squirrel chasing a dog on crack or something, it's that's my new saying.
I love it. That's awesome. It's interesting because one of the reasons why I wanted to start with this question is because I think when we start to think about something, like we all said, a little bit more focus and I would achieve my goal. But what we don't do is ask a lot of questions about what is focus, and get like a little bit more curious on that, because it's like we know the thing, right? We know the thing that we can do or that we should do, or the habit that we want to shift. But do we ever sit down and actually ask ourselves, what is the base of that? What does it actually mean to focus? And that's why I wanted to start with this question today, because I don't think we sit down and actually ask ourselves enough questions because we're busy. And taking that time to actually reflect on what it is that we're trying to increase and why is really, really important. So Emerson said, the thing that grows is the thing you give energy to. And that's really, when I think of focus, that's really what I think of. It's not just, it's mental energy, it's, activity, it's all of those things. And I love, Brenda, what you said, intention. That's one of the things I really help my clients, especially multi-passionate people, is narrowing it down so that you're intentionally focusing on certain things at a certain time and really eliminating any of those distractions. At Conway, how we teach, goal setting, and I'm going to go into this a little bit more at the end, is to focus on one thing at a time. So it's like, and we do like a 21-day manifestation challenge with this one thing at a time. And, that doesn't mean you can't have it all, but it's when you focus down on one thing at a time that you start to manifest it all, if that makes sense. And I'm sure if you reflect back in your life and some of the things that you've done, you can, that you can see that to be true, right? I know I can see that to be true. When I hunker down and focus on one thing at a time, I actually achieve more when I learn to focus down on and put my energy on one idea at a time. And that doesn't mean that you can't still work on the other ideas. It's just you like check them off the list, right? You're doing those at a time. So, we kind of talked about this already, but something that I'd invite you to sit on after this presentation is, pardon me, what do you think would happen if you could increase your focus in the area of your goals? So it's not enough to just say, I need more focus, because if we don't know what that is, then we're not going to achieve it. So to really like sit there and think about what that means to focus and what that means for you and what that will do for you. So I want to share a story, because it's a pretty remarkable story. I have a brand new client. She signed up in August, and she's in the UK, and one of her goals, or her goal, is to earn money through acquiring flats and units in the UK and Airbnb-ing them out. So starting kind of her Airbnb business. And this has been a goal of hers for over a year. And she hadn't acquired her first unit yet. So she started working with us. I had her do the 21-day manifestation challenge. And the idea that she locked onto was securing her first unit. So every day she sent me an accountability, 1 out of 21, 2 out of 21, just to keep on track. And on day 21 of 21, she sent me the message, I just secured my first unit, something that she'd been working on for over a year. So it just goes to show you, like, there's a science behind why we do 21 days. Like, it's just that length of time to focus and really shift a habit. But it goes to show you that when you laser focus down on something that could have taken years can actually take a short period of time, because it's that focus and that intention. I'm going to bring that word back too. So my definition of focus is the ability to govern and direct your mental faculties. And I'm going to get into mental faculties a little bit more in this presentation. But I think the real joy of life is being able to use our mind to get the things that we want, like to be able to really go inside, to manifest and to change and to grow. And in order to do that, it is through our mind and it's through the use of our mental faculties. And focus is the key. So we all want things, the way we're designed is we're growth seeking organisms. We're always looking to grow. We're always looking to acquire more. And it's very common to want a whole bunch of things, right? And it's the way that we get those things is when we focus on those things. So I love, Brenda, you mentioned you do vision boards. Like, I love vision boards. I have my vision board right beside me here, and I've checked off many of those things on the list. So I'm really looking forward to creating my next one. But it's because I've focused on those things and really focused on the growth, because the purpose of a goal isn't to get, it's actually to grow. So when you're focusing on one idea or one goal, what you're actually going to start to acquire is the awareness within yourself to achieve those things, and seeing where you need to grow or what beliefs you need to shift. Like for Esther, the story I just told you about, about my client, the belief that she needed to shift was that she could actually do it. And when she shifted that belief, it was done. So the idea alone of the things that we want won't do the trick. Like, just to want something isn't enough, because we actually have to put energy behind that. I say a lot of the time, and I was guilty of this until I started working with Conway Consulting as a client, actually, was I forgot about the action part, right? It was very, like, I would say I was off with the fairies. Like, I could manifest all of these things. I manifested some things, but there's that action reaction. So when you focus on one idea, what you're actually opening yourself up for is receiving the ideas that are within that idea to help achieve that idea. And I know I said idea a lot of times there, but I think might know where I'm going with this, because it's when you spend that time every single day, intentionally kind of brainstorming or mindstorming, you start to get more ideas of how that can achieve. So even that first day, if you're like, you have the goal that you want to manifest in 21 days and you have no idea how you're going to do it, and you sit there and take some time and just start to write, and you're like, okay, all these ideas are crap. All right, well, I'm going to try again tomorrow. And the more you try and go into that idea, the better ideas are going to start to flow to you. But what we have a habit of doing is going into it a couple days, not having any good ideas, not taking an action, and then giving up and moving on to the next task. And that's a big mistake. We want to keep going into that idea, because, I like to say, like, the cell phone, the ideas for the cell phone were always there. And now everyone has one in their hand. But it was sitting with that idea that actually they got the how came to them. Because before there was a cell phone, if you would have told someone someday everyone's going to be walking around with this portable device where they can send a letter message to people all over the world instantaneously, people would have said that you're crazy. But here it is, and we all have one in our hand because someone focused on that idea over and over and over until the how came to them. So having that ability to govern and direct your mental faculties towards one idea every day, going into that one idea, more and more ideas are going to flow to you. So what we want to learn how to do is take control of our mental faculties so that we can do this and focus in on one thing at a time and build that unstoppable focus for that goal. I like to say in this manifestation challenge that we do and that I do with my clients, it's like if your goal is the cookie, this is a bite out of the cookie. So because we like to set really, really big or seemingly big goals. So this is a bite out of the cookie. So if you start, checking off, biting out of the cookie every 21 days, well, eventually that cookie is going to be gone and your goal is going to be yours because you focused. So I'm going to go into, and I mentioned that the 6 higher faculties are really where we need to focus. So what we're taught in school, we're taught about our 5 senses, sight, smell, hear, taste, and touch. And what the 5 senses are designed to do is they're designed to allow us to communicate with our world and our reality right now. But what they're not designed to do is show us where we're going. And we have a really bad habit of living through our 5 senses, of letting the bank account dictate what we can do, or letting our past experiences and dictate what we can do. Or if I can't, one of saying that I absolutely hate, which I used to live by, was, well, I have to see it to believe it. But the truth is you actually have to believe it to see it. And that's really where this focus idea comes down. Because as you keep going into the ideas, you're going to start to believe it more. And then you're going to start to see the how it'll be presented to you. So our 6 higher faculties, as I have here, is perception, reason, will, imagination, memory, and intuition. And the 2 that I really want to focus on today are will and imagination. Because your imagination is where these ideas come from, but your will is the capability to be able to keep those images on the screen of your mind until they manifest into your reality. And that's the use of your will, is actually to hold on to that idea, to hold on to that focus. So your success isn't found in your goals. It's actually found in your commitment to them. It's found in your commitment to being able to going into those ideas over and over and over, persisting in those ideas and not giving up on those ideas, even if there's nothing in your physical world right now that tells you can have it. It's that constant going into it and committing and recommitting. So going into an idea over and over and over and over and over again, even if the pathway isn't clear for you yet. It's that repetition. So focus is really essential, because if you take your focus away from an idea, that idea actually dies. And I know this for myself. It's happened many times. And I say this with my clients, is you have to work your way out of a rut. You have to work your way back into momentum, right? But when you keep that focus and keep moving towards it, you're building up that momentum, but you're also building up your mental stamina for it too. So all of these things. So when you're focused on one idea at a time, you're actually developing all of your higher faculties, and you're developing your mental stamina too, which is also very needed. So when you let something else in, so this is like distractions or life and anything that can happen, right? Any day. When you let something else in, you shift your focus, and oftentimes we forget our goals, and what that is drifting. So Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Outwitting the Devil. And what that book is it's actually a mental interview that Napoleon Hill did in his mind with the devil. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because in that interview, he asked the devil, like, how do you keep people like with you, right? Like, how do you get them? And he said, through drifting. So drifting, and I'm sure you can see it in your life or people that you know's life, drifting is what will impact you from achieving your goal. So life can happen, but you keep bringing yourself back to the goal. So one of the things that I have clients do, especially if they're new to this, the work that we're doing with them, or I'm a recovering multitasker. I don't know if anyone else is. Multitasking isn't actually a real thing. So this is something when I started doing this work, I had to do too, because I was like all over the place, a bajillion tabs up, working on 5 different things at a time. Well, that doesn't work. I never got anywhere because I was splitting my energy and I was splitting my focus. So to keep focused on one goal when other things are happening, or if you, for example, like maybe it's a side project that you're working on, or like a side hustle, that's where your goal is, but you still have your tasks that you have to do. You don't want to lose sight of that goal. So one thing that I do is I actually have my clients set like an alarm in their phone for every hour to bring them back and just to recenter. And okay, so all you have to do in that time is you just pause and you think of your goal. Spend like, I say like 3 minutes max. That's all it takes. Pause and bring that goal, bring that image back into your mind, refocusing your mind on that one idea. And the more and more you do that, the more connected you're going to get to that. Now, what I like to do is spend 1 hour every morning with my goal. And that's where I really let my imagination go, and I focus in on that idea. And then I'm bringing it back throughout my day too, because, well, things happen. An email will come in, or a text, or whatever, something that'll throw me off. So it's that ability to refocus and bring your mind back, which is so, so key. So Bob Proctor said, you've got to develop mental strength, and you develop mental strength with the will. The will is the mental faculty that gives you the ability to hold one idea under the screen of your mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. And that's really what I'm talking about today, is bringing that idea back to your mind. And focus is produced from the will. The will is, I've been studying the will for a couple months now. It's something that ever since we launched the 21-day challenge, and I've been studying more and more about the will to just understand it more and understand where maybe my gaps in it are. And that's one of the reasons why I study, for that self-awareness. So here, I gotta move this little bar here. So focus is produced by the will. And here are some of the children of the will. So focus, concentration, self-discipline, drive, and commitment. And if you think of, especially if you're multi-passionate, thinking of that one goal that you want to achieve, or that goal that you're working towards, bringing it back to the screen of your mind is what's going to drive you to do the thing, even if, you have other things. So for me, throughout the past year of my life, with what I've gone through and experienced with my family, bringing my goal back has given me energy, and it's given me drive, and it's kept me going. Commitment, I also like to say recommitment. Like recommitment is a word because often we do drift. We have to bring that back. So you're constantly committing to the idea over and over and over again. And with that, you'll learn to focus and concentrate, and then discipline yourself. I actually like to say, like, build a goal that you desire so much that it disciplines you. We are only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. Sorry, did not catch that last time. And poverty of imagination. And that's a Neville Goddard quote that is really, it kind of sums up everything that I'm talking about today, because that's really where we are limited. We are limited by what we give our attention to, what we give our mental focus to, but we're also limited by the ideas that we hold and in our imagination and in our minds. So I really, really like this quote. I think it just kind of sums up what I'm talking about really, really nicely. And if we really want to expand our awareness and focus down on one idea, when we're focusing down on one idea, that's when we're going to attract the awareness, or we're going to attract the the things within us that are blocking us. It's through that focus you'll start to learn how to take ideas and how to hold on to ideas, and developing that more and more. The more you go into it, the more you're going to develop it. I like your will is a muscle. So just like at the gym, when you're going to the gym and you want to build a bicep, you're not just going to like flex it twice, like lift 20 pounds, be like, okay, I'm ripped, I'm Arnold now. Like, you're going to go and you're going to do the reps. You're going to constantly be working on that muscle. The will is the exact same. You're constantly going into it, working on it, developing it, and strengthening it. And the more you go into it, the more you're going to be able to build that awareness and that self-awareness inside of yourself of what's missing. Because the truth is, the only reason you don't have your goal yet is because you're not on the frequency of it. So the more you go into it, the more you go into the ideas, you're going to realize what needs to shift in you to get yourself on the same vibration as your goal. And that's how the law of attraction works. It's through the ideas and it's through the action. And you really like to really hone in on the will is to break free from the life you have and to build the life you want. And it's going into that, like leaving the five senses behind and just going into those images over and over and over, and creating that image of the life that you want. The more you do it, the stronger it's going to get, the stronger your belief's going to get, and the more awareness you're going to attract. Oh, I'm missing a slide. Oh. Okay, so I had a slide. I did have a slide with a picture of a kite. Okay, and I have no idea where that slide went. It was after this one and before the last one. So we all know what a kite looks like. So use your imagination and imagine an image of a kite. What the kite is your imagination. And if you let that kite go on a windy day without holding onto the string, it's just going to blow everywhere and it's going to be gone. What the will is the string that keeps the kite planted to you, planted to the ground, keeps the kite moving, keeps the kite, you being able to fly the kite and move it. You can picture that in your mind. Your kite can only soar to the level of your string, and your string is your will. So the more you strengthen that will, the more you like let a little bit of string off, that kite's going to soar a lot more, and it's going to go wider and fly higher. And that's just like your imagination, and that's by the use of your will. So you need to have both, because if you just have a string with no kite, well, you just have a string and it's not going anywhere. And if you have a kite with no string, it's going to go everywhere. And it really grounds that together. So the better you can control those strings, the further you'll be able to let the kite go. And the better you can control the strings, the further you'll actually be able to let yourself go. And you will start to manifest that vision that's in your mind. James Allen said, keep your hands firmly on the helm of thought. Really really focusing on, what am I thinking? All of those things are really, really important to be aware of the thoughts that you're thinking, because your current thinking manifests, or your past thinking manifested your current reality. So when you want to manifest new goals, it's all in the thinking and it's all in your mindset. And the ability to be able to hold those images and only think thoughts that align with those images is what's going to do the business. So another story, this is not one of my clients, but anyone who's probably studied Bob Proctor before has heard this story. When JFK went to Wernher von Braun and asked what it takes to put a man on the moon, all he said was the will to do it. He didn't say it was the money. He didn't say resources. He said, if you want to put a man on the moon, the only thing you need is the will to do it. And that's focusing on that idea. Everything else came. It's the same concept of when I was talking about the cell phone, right? It's the will to do it. It's holding that idea in your mind until it manifests into form. And all you need to achieve any idea that is in your mind is the will to do it. So any idea that you have, it's holding that idea, even if it's like so far out of what seems to be possible, it's holding that idea on your mind. And every single day going into that idea, like only accepting that as your reality, not going into the five senses. Keep going into that and focusing on that over and over and over again. And the universe supports the person who can focus. I think we all know this to be true. A really bad habit that people have is we set a goal and then we let ourselves off the hook from achieving it. And when you learn how to focus and strengthen the will, you're going to stop letting yourself off the hook, and you're going to develop a no excuse consciousness. That's what I like to call it, a no excuse consciousness. And what you focus on becomes your center point. So you keep going back to that one idea over and over and over. And I'm going to bring that word commit and recommit back in, because if you drift off, you just recommit to it. And you keep going back to it over and over and over again. So I'm going to do some questions, and I'll stop share as well, so we can kind of just all see each other. But one thing I would love to do is I'd love to invite you to join me in the 21 Manifestation Challenge. We actually have a challenge that you can walk through. So I'm going to post the link in the chat. The link's right there too, but I know it's like hard to copy and paste it off of Zoom. But for anyone watching the recording, you can pause it and type all of those fun letters into the search bar. Because what it's going to do is it's going to help build all of those things that I talked about today. And it was created by Dave, so that's who I coach through. And it is a process. You'll get emails every single day that are going to help you recommit and refocus to that goal. And it is a process. And as I shared, I've seen it work time and time again, and it's worked for me and many other people. And I know it can work for you too. So I will stop share. Does anyone have any questions? Sorry,
Just
I didn't
gratitude
put the chat up, so I'm reading that.
Hey, Kayleigh, I wanted to be here so badly, so live. And I apologize. We had a sick calf that got into some improper fencing around potato plants, which are toxic, and so we're all hands on deck. And I was putting some new fencing around while they're trying to figure out what to do. But I could hear you because I was off doing my part of the thing. And this was brilliant. I'm going to have to watch the replay. And Brenda Lynn warning, I'm going to be using some of Kayleigh's stuff tomorrow on our Pomodoro day, because it really is the secret behind the 20 minutes, 5 minutes is that focus. I'm going to send out another email today. You gave me a lot of great ideas. I don't think I have questions, but I do want to see the link in the chat.
I'm going to drop that in there right now.
I was thinking about that, Rusty, about for tomorrow, how this would be so apropos for tomorrow's Pomodoro writing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a focus that we're gonna use. I'm going to have some quotes on the screen, and get people moving.
So well, I'm glad I could help, and I'm glad to see you here too, Rusty. It was nice to I knew you were listening in on the background, so nice to have your energy here and see you again.
I have a new phone that has really good volume. The other one had a crappy volume. I wouldn't be able to hear while I was moving things around. Oh, Kayleigh, and I was also very, very much looking forward to hearing about your son. So that's just awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, he's doing great. It was a little bit of a rusty, sorry about my word, but school drop off today. Day 2, but he's doing really, really well now.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Brenda,
Okay.
did you have any questions?
Sorry, go ahead, Brenda. Do you have anything?
Well, I just want to say thank you, because this has really helped me to, as Rusty knows, I've been writing a manuscript for working with children with autism for parents, and it's really gone on the wayside, but it's been something that I've been for 15 years trying to do, and just I'm working with Rusty to try and stay focused, and this really gave me some good, like you said, if you fall off, commit and recommit. Right. Mm-hmm. Just bring those keywords and the will. I do have the will. There's always a will. But it's keeping that in my forefront, and not letting things get in the way, like my squirrely, unable to focus at times. So
I would say, Brenda, do the 21-day manifestation challenge and decide what you want to do with that in 21 days. And just because every day it'll just remind you and reprompt you to go into that idea. And it's Dave created it all, but I use it all the time, and I've manifested a couple things, like even seeing my son go to school. Like that's something that, you know, that I've been focusing on. And it's interesting because I've been focusing on that, and this is where I know what I focus on grows, because he's there, but like my results in my business aren't as strong as they are some other months, because that's where my focus has been this month. And that's okay. Right? That's totally okay.
Yep.
But it's interesting because it's in those moments where you're like, no, like where was my mind at? And it's just that proof that really what we do focus on grows. And it can be for things where it's like, well, how do you manifest health for someone else? You just like focus in on that. And then we got ideas. We started working with a naturopath, different things, right? Different things. And now he's there. So,
which is so awesome. I'm so
amazing.
so happy to hear that he's doing well.
thank you.
Me too.
Yeah, awesome. I have a question, because I did, and Brenda Lynn has received it. It's a 21-day habit creation program for creating a habit of daily writing. But your 21-day manifestation challenge, I think that might be what I'm missing, is to send out that email with encouragement each day. Is that a copyright infringement if I use that idea to tack on to what I've already created?
I don't think so. As long as you're not like using our, like if you're using, like if you're copying and pasting our emails, yes, but if you're using the idea, no, it's I'm sure Dave got the idea from someone else. I say this, like all the ideas that I'm sharing with you today, they are not my ideas. They're someone else's ideas, right?
Yeah.
So
there's no such thing as an original idea, and you can't even copyright titles.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
use the idea. And even if there are things in the emails that jump out that you want to like make your own, do it for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And beware, you're going to be one of my beta subjects. We're going to get that book written.
Hey.
Kayleigh, is it a free challenge? It's free, right?
Yeah, it's free.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'll do too is, well, we'll when we upload the recording to the vault, we'll make sure that we put that link in there.
Awesome.
But that's awesome. Yeah.
And if you use the link that I gave you, like, because it's a bit.ly link. So what that means is I'll be your coach while you go through the challenge. So you'll be prompted to book like a 15-minute call with me as a check-in and things like that. So we do have like lots of other coaches on the team. So as long as you use that link, you'll be linked to me, and I'll support you.
That's so great. What a great, what just a great give. What a great, what am I trying to say? It's very generous. It's such a lovely thing to offer. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's, you know, it's so one of Dave's goals is to have 1 million people go through the challenge, because it's that important to learn how to focus our mind, right? And we don't we squirrel too much. And we grew up in a society and in a world which taught us, that conditioned us to be able to do that. So it's shifting. And that's why a lot of people, when they go through the challenge, they resist it, because it's not the way, their habit way of doing things. So to start to like be more intentional with your time and focus in on one idea at a time, it is a big shift for people. It's powerful when you stick to it.
Society right now, because what they say that some people have the attention less than a goldfish, and so to really focus in on something. And you mentioned Bob Proctor a lot, and I wanted to comment earlier. Let's see if I can recapture that comment while I was hustling around. I did the thinking into results with Bob Proctor, and that was a couple of years ago. And then some things you mentioned today about commitment are really dovetailing well with something I heard recently about the morning miracle, about saying the problem with affirmations is that it doesn't have the commitment part. The affirmations, if we just say the affirmations like Bob Proctor's program taught, God bless Bob Proctor, I learned a lot and benefited a lot, but we're kind of lying to ourselves. And then it's really hard to continue to focus. The commitment you mentioned and renewing our commitment, it definitely makes sense that we're key. And then I heard something else that, whether or not you know what this or want to add to it or comment on it, but the 7 chakras also play a part in how we manifest and stuff. So lately I've been doing the Bob Proctor part. I'm so happy and grateful now that, but I say, now that I'm committed to understanding, seeing, speaking, I like speaking, and loving, being, doing, having, the Natalie taught me being, doing, having, and I put that all together. And yes, it's long, but there's this savers morning of spend time in silence, your affirmations, and visualize, exercise, reading, and scribing, writing.
I love
So
that.
I love what you've added to my program this morning. Thank you.
I love that. And so a lot of the things that I say come from Bob Proctor, because I actually I did thinking end results as well a couple years ago, and the lead the field. I actually used to sell thinking end results for my old coach. And that's how I found Dave. So I didn't actually know how to sell. So my results weren't very good. And I hired Dave to be my coach. And that's how I actually started on his team. Is my life changed really, really quickly after starting to work with him. And he was a consultant, and he ended up being invited on to Bob's sales team. So he worked directly with Bob for a couple of years in PGI. So a lot of the things that I talk about, like Bob's kind of my, one of my like personal development heroes. Like I study what Bob studied. And but I love what you said about affirmations too, because I did the 100 times in the morning, 100 times at night. And I used to have to get my hand acupunctured. And I had like PTSD from writing it so much. But the thing is, because I was doing it to check it off the list. And I think this is really, really important what you brought up. It's feeling is the secret. So how I teach my clients to do affirmations, and I'll give you a tip too, Rusty, if it resonates with you, is to bring them in a couple different ways. So I write them, but like not a ton. Like I'll write, I call it like a future memory journal, like entry, like it's already been done. And I'll write my goal, and we're just write freehand a couple pages, but then I speak my affirmations out loud in the mirror. And I also listen to them on an app called Voice Loop on my phone. So just like any way to get them down into that darn subconscious, right? Like that's what we're trying to do, but they're not going to go in there if there's no feeling involved. So it's like, how long do I have to do my affirmations? Well, until it's manifested into your reality, if that's what you want. And well, how do I do it? Here's a couple ways to try it, but figure out what works best for you. Because what works best for me might not work best for you. But remembering that feeling is the secret. So if you're just doing it to check off the list, there's no feeling there. So being able to bring it in and make it your own. So I started saying in my goal, I actually say, I'm so enthusiastic and inspired now that I have achieved. And then in my affirmations, I say, I'm so happy and grateful now that. And I've just shifted those words because like for me, they connect a little bit deeper. So I'm happy to share that with you today too.
I'm so enthusiastic and inspired. I love that. I love the word.
Thank you.
You're awesome, Kayleigh.
Thank you. I'm grateful you could be here, Rusty. It's so nice to see you again. And Brenda, I don't know if we've actually like met. I know I've seen you around, but I don't think have we met like in a call like this yet?
Well, I have been to a couple of your workshops.
Okay.
But I'm an academy graduate with Debbie Sluice's company through Dare to Declare. And I've been a member of Happy Healthy Women now since I think last January or last November. So it'll be almost a year now. And I just love this group and this community. And yes, and I've been following you on Facebook, and
I know I know we're connected, but I don't think we've ever actually like voice to voice talk. So
right.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity today. And it's really helped me to jump back in and get my feet wet again and recommit.
Awesome. I'm so glad.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, yes. Right. So we've been hogging Kayleigh.
That's okay. That's okay.
Lots of me to go around, ladies.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Because I'm learning too. But I guess the question comes down to like heart and mind, and sometimes I find with mindset coaching, there's a huge focus on the mind, but sometimes I think that and I think, I mean, obviously you brought this in with Will, but that there's, because I was in a business much like you, Kayleigh, with Arbonne for 10 years, right? And I got quite far in it, but then I hit this plateau and my heart I was always trying to bring my heart up to speed with my mindset, right? I was trying to do the mindset work and getting, moving that forward, but then trying to bring my heart up to where I was thinking, right? And then just one day I realized, holy crap, I actually don't really want this. And I want to put my entire focus into happy, healthy women. And so actually this came up last night on our book club. And I know that I actually mentioned a post that you did about what is it that, I don't know, it was something around what is it that you actually want? Like, and then a post that Dave Conway did about desires and how, depression is actually
Rest
the
desire.
not suppressed desire. So anyway, it's all coming full circle this week
Yeah.
for sure. But talk to me about that a little bit. Is that when you talk about will, is that what we mean?
So how I've been taught, so if you think of I'm going to bring in my stick person, because I don't know if any of you've seen the stick person. So this is an image of the mind. That's what the purpose is. The top of the stick person is the conscious mind, and the bottom of the stick person is the subconscious mind, and then the body is attached to that. So the way things work is the ideas come through the conscious mind, and our subconscious mind is actually our heart. So if you replace the word subconscious mind with emotional mind, so whatever's in your emotional mind is what manifests. So there are certain things, and I had the exact same experience with Arbonne, Natalie. And that's where I just decided to be okay with letting that part go, realizing that it was just a vehicle to get me to where I am, or to find that purpose. Like it's like that Steve Jobs quotes, we can only connect the dots looking backwards, right? Never looking forwards. So that idea in your heart or in your subconscious mind, if you're trying to like force it, it just doesn't work, because force negates, right? And I know the will, like I used to have a very negative connotation with the word the will, because I thought the will meant to force. But really, when you really learn more about the will, it's actually just the ability to focus on what you want and to hold that image. So, and be okay with, like, if a certain past image doesn't fit that, it's like you got to let it go. But that's where the resistance happens, right? Because when you keep going into that idea and that goal, like you had a goal that, and I think our stories are in that way a little bit similar, right? You had a goal. Arbonne seemed to be the vehicle that was going to get you that goal. It's the same thing with me. I actually had like a really big like internal battle letting that go, realizing that it's actually this next step. But as soon as I like let it go from my subconscious mind, it's like I gave myself permission to live the life that I wanted. And it's because the how isn't up to us. So when you hold that idea, like I'm living the life that I wanted to live when I started setting my Arbonne goals. Like I even have the car. Like I wanted to buy the car, so I bought the car. Like I still, like all of those ideas were in there. It just, that wasn't the vehicle. And but I kept going into that idea, that goal, that life, that image. And that's where, like, no, I want to coach. Like, I don't want to do this. I want to coach, or creating this community. So it's like, you don't necessarily bring your heart up to, like, it's just, it's almost like when you go into the idea, sorry, I'm looking up because this is my thinking face.
Yeah.
When you keep going into the idea, your heart comes along, and it might not be how you thought it would come along. Does that make sense? Is that helping?
Totally. Yeah. But I think it's really important to notice where the desires come from, because I think when we let a desire be in the conscious mind, it might not be for the right reasons that strengthens the will, right? And so I think that's where I'm coming from with this. Like, and there might be a point, and so I think it's also important to like listen to the heart, or the subconscious mind, the emotional mind, when things change, right? Because if we're going back to that journey, for me that was a 10-year thing, and for a good bunch of years I was so in, and that's when it grew, right? That's when it grew, and I was so into it. But that was coming from like that emotional space, that excitement, that joy. And then it stopped being exciting, but I still was trying. Then the force came in, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, and I never feel that way with like Happy Healthy Women is my baby. I birthed it. It's my,
Yeah.
you know, it's from here. So
Yeah.
I never feel that way. It's always exciting and it's all, and the will is always there. So I don't know. I wanted to talk about this distinction a little bit because I think it's so important to not lead with here all the time,
Yeah.
but to let this, like I always say, lead with the heart and let the mind come along to compute.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you have a similar saying in your own words of
Yeah.
you know, the same meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really like, because the cool thing is we can influence the subconscious mind based on the images that we hold, right? If you hold them long enough. Because the other thing that lives in our subconscious mind are doubts, fears, and worries, right? So those are other things. So it's really important to distinguish between, is it those paradigms talking, or is it my desire talking? Right? And that's where that's where, because your heart is in your subconscious mind, but that's also where those paradigms and those unconscious things live too. So that's why that image is so important, because you can know what's in alignment with that image and not, right? And you'll feel that resistance inside of you. And that image is allowed to grow and it's allowed to transform. I like the saying, like, trust your journey, because it is. It's like you just have to trust your journey and trust where that path is taking you. And it's okay for it's like the goal almost didn't change, because you're still impacting people, and you're you know, you created like this healthy, happy space, which is a lot of in alignment with what Arbonne is or was. I barely am in it anymore anyway too. So it's like that vision unfolded just in a different way, you know. I think it's pretty cool.
I think it's cool too. Yeah.
Rusty in the chat asked, depression is suppressed desire. So I'm going to try to explain this as well as I can. So when someone's expressing their true self, it's outward, it's going out, right? But when we suppress our true self, it comes in the form of like anxiety, which becomes depression. So if you think of, I'm going to use this because I think it's a kind of like an maybe obvious, but someone who is, say they are transgender or homosexual or whatever, and they're suppressing who they are because of the outside, right? So they're just suppressing the true them, and oftentimes that leads to depression or anxiety, or even worse, right? Because that trueness of themselves is staying in, they're not expressing it. So if you ask someone, how are you doing today, and they're happy, they're going to say, I'm doing awesome. But if they're not going to, like, they're going to say fine, you know, because they're suppressed, because so there's like a difference in that. So the more those desires or the truths are suppressed inside of you, and you're not allowing yourself to express your truth, the more that it just grows and festers. And that's really where anxiety and depression comes from. Like, I used to be anxious and depressed because I didn't know my truth and I didn't speak that truth. And when I started to learn myself more, like I don't have the same, I mean, I've had a little bit of anxiety the past year, but nowhere near what it had been. Like, I wouldn't say I'm an anxious person anymore, you know, because those were all things. Now I'm fully free to express who I am. And I've removed like fears of criticism and all of those other things, which were in the past holding me in and then causing that friction. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah, that and it makes total sense with regards to my son, because he doesn't fit in the normal, stream of things, and he's not committed to being out there in his real self in the real world. I mean, he can handle, us here on the farm, his cousin, his uncle, his aunt, and me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that helps. And then it also just like really that I think that I heard Natalie say that maybe she was quoting you, depression is suppressed desire. And I wanted to see, is that what I heard? Because it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Thank you for that. That's thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, this is fun. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining, ladies. And I hope everyone on the replay enjoys it too.
I'm going
Yes. For sure. I'm gonna do a little post on this because I just absolutely love this. I think it's so powerful and more people need to jump into that challenge. If you can manifest something in 21 days, like why not? Who wouldn't want to do that? So I love it, Kayleigh. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and I appreciate you taking the time.
Well, I'm grateful for this beautiful community that you created and following your heart, because that's why we're all here today.
Yay. Thank you so much. Thanks, ladies. I guess we will end here, but everyone sign up for this challenge. I think it's fabulous. And we'll see you soon, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Bye now.